All right, as I mentioned to you on Friday, I'm just going to talk for about a half an hour, and the rest of the period will be lab. Tuesday will be lab all period. Wednesday will be the pretest, which I'll pass out tomorrow. Thursday will be the test, and Friday will also be a lab. So you get a lot of lab time this week. All right, I wanted to mention something to you. I don't know why I hadn't thought of this before, but I just wanted to show you this. Sometimes you're starting to work on an assignment, or you're creating a site, or you're doing something, and you just like to kind of have a scratch pad where you can do a few things. So if you go out to jsbin.com, and it'll push you out to right here, so you see it. Come on. All right. See, try it again. All right. So like I said, it'll push you out to there. It's just jsbin.com. What's kind of nice about it is it's got different windows and stuff in here. And if you take a look on the screen here, I'm going to open up the 3 windows. So HTML is open. I'm going to cut the size of this down. And I know you can do that. There we go. And I'm going to click on CSS. So now I got a CSS window. And I'm going to also open up a JavaScript window. All right. So I'll make for a second here, what I'll do is I'll make this bigger. I'm just going to put in an H1 tag. And it'll just say hello. Is that pretty obvious what happens when you do that? All right, so now I can come over here to the CSS and I can say, hey, all H1 tags, I want you to give them a background of yellow, and I want you to give them a color of red. I don't know. So you see that? Now, it gets kind of hinky when you do the JavaScript stuff. So I'm going to just throw it into here for right now just so you see it. I'm going to type in here alert, and I'm going to put in hello world with a semicolon on the end. Then I'm going to grab that line, I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to paste it into my JavaScript area. And you can see what happens. Now, you never have to use this, all right? But it's something that if you want, like I said, if you want a little scratch pad to just try something, it's a place that you can go. There's other ones out there too, all right? There's CodePen and there's a few other ones that are out there, just so you know. All right, now, fortunately or unfortunately, typically what I do is I try to plan out all the steps that we're going to go through today, and then I print them out so I've got a copy. Well, there's problems with the system right now. You can get on as a guest, but I can't get on as rank in IT. I can get on as the old rank in IT, but it's not letting me print. All right, so I don't have print capability right now. So I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to bounce back and forth, and hopefully I didn't make any mistakes in here. This is what I'd like you all to do, if you would please. Find your Alphanos project. We're going to make a copy of it right away. All right, so I'm going to go find mine. I don't remember which one that's in, but I know I've got a bunch of different Alphanos ones in here. That one looks probably as good as anything else that I have. All right, so I'm going to just grab this Alphanos folder right here that I've got, and I'm just going to copy it out to my clipboard. All right. Now, if what we're working on right now, if you want to work with a copy, I don't want you to screw up the original one that you had and then say, well, geez, I wish you wouldn't have told us to do this. Then work with a copy. All right? But what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to open up this Alphanos folder right here, and yours has got more in it than mine does, okay? If it's your finished product, because all I have in here is the images and the index file. But regardless, what I want you to do, and I'm going to do it with you in just a second, but I want you to right mouse click and choose new folder. I want there to be a new folder in here that's called dist. There's nothing special about the word dist. It's short for distribution. All right, so I want you to create a folder in there named dist. Then I want you to take everything that you've got and move it into the dist folder. Does what I just said make sense to everybody? And I'm going to do it too, but I wanted to show you kind of, I guess, semi-graphically what I'm about to do here. All right, so I'm going to come in here just as I asked you to do. I'm going to right mouse click, and I'm going to choose New Folder. I'm going to call it dist, all in lowercase. And then I'm going to grab the images folder, and I'm going to grab the my index file, and both of them, I'm just going to say, move them there. I don't know why it didn't move them, but it didn't. Well, I copied them. I don't know why, but I thought I said move. So I just want to make sure that I didn't bust anything. Yep, there it is. Good. Okay. So, what's that? I didn't hear you.
Where did you say the file to put it in?
I said that right under your Alfanos folder, make a folder named dist, and then throw everything in the dist folder.
DIS?
D-I-S-T, short for distribution. There's nothing special. Sometimes people call that build, or they call it something else. There's nothing really that big about it. It's just the name that's typically associated with these. So that's step number 1. All right. Then what I want you to do, and I'm going to put this in here right now, is I want you to go out to this URL. You are actually going to have to download a piece of software. It won't take much time. It's not very big, and I'll explain everything that it's going to do in just a second. So let me make this bigger. Should be plenty big, I would think. Whoops. So go out to here, please. Don't download it, don't do anything, just stop once you get there. And probably, I don't think you need the https:// Just go to node.js, nodejs.org. If you just go to here, there will end up being a download link. I can tell you that. All right? Now, I'm going to just literally grab that, nodejs.org. I've already got it on my system, but I want to show you something, and that is this. First of all, not much in this website. See that? There are a bunch of links. I'm not going to go through any of this. This is the software, the main software that we use in the 3rd semester. But in order for us to be able to use GitHub Pages, we need this. Do you understand what I'm saying? All right. Now, when you look here, there's 2 different things. This one says 14.18.0 LTS, and LTS stands for long-term support. It's been around for a while. It's been tested. There shouldn't be any problems with this. Does that all make sense? The other one is, as it says, latest features, etc. It's one that's in beta mode right now. So it's one that still is being tested. It is possible and plausible that there could be something in there that would break if you tried to use it. So what I want you to do is I want you to click where it says 14.18.0 LTS. And when you do that, again, with me, I'm using Chrome, so down here, it'll put it way down in the bottom left-hand corner. And it shouldn't take real long, but when it's done, you can either click on it or you can right mouse click on it and choose Open when done. And sooner or later, hopefully sooner, it's going to come up and it's going to ask you, basically what you want to do with this. And all you want to do is you want to follow all the defaults. I'm not going to install it because I have it already. Now, I may have a little bit older version than you because I did it at the beginning of the semester. They are constantly making updates to this. I could have the same version as you. I could have a different version than you. Guess what? It doesn't matter either way. What we're about to do should work just fine for all of us. Was everybody able to do that? Are you downloading it right now? Yes? Yes. Okay. Anybody have any problem with what we've done so far? All right. So again, it comes up with a setup wizard that's right here. All right, it says computing space requirements, but like I said, just go in and basically just select all of the defaults. There's nothing magical that you have to do here. All right, I'm going to stop right here because I already have the package downloaded. All right. I'll give you a second. Am I sure I want to cancel it? Yes. finish. Okay. And again, I realize when we do this kind of stuff, it takes longer on some machines than on other machines. I get that. All right, it's the connection you have, it's the type of machine you have, etc. All right. Are you still going through the download, or did you finish? Still doing it. When you finish, all right, and you can all watch this, but that's not going to pay to do it until you finished. But I'm going to click here in my search box window. Look on the screen here. I'm going to click in there and either choose command prompt or type in CMD for command prompt. And once it comes up, I want you to type in two commands. The first command is node -v, and hit enter. So you can see I've got a little bit earlier version than you. I've got 14.17.6. You've got 14.18.0. It's totally fine. Again, you won't get anything back on this other than a bad command until your system is until you've actually got it downloaded. Then when you're done, type in this, npm -v, and hit enter. And again, you may have a different number than me. It's totally fine. All right? So I don't want to continue on until everybody's had a chance to get there. What we're going to do literally is not going to take very long. Probably 10 or 15 minutes once we get going. But it'll give me a chance to explain a couple of the things that are in here to you. Always remember my 4th grade teacher at times like this, Mrs. Dimmick, who would always say, okay, it's going to take some of you longer than others, so when you get done, put your head down on your desk. I never knew why we had to do that, but...
Node V and then NPCV.
Node space -v, then npm space -v. You will get different numbers than I get.
No, I'm getting unproduct.
Then you had a problem. Did you finish the download?
Yeah.
Okay, well then something got screwed up with your download.
I did the latest one. Maybe it was-
No, that's fine. No, you should have done the 16.18 one. You should have done the long-term support one.
I got the wrong one. Do I just need to,
Well, what I do is go in there, type in control panel, right?
just delete it?
Yeah. Go in your program files and then just delete it, right, or uninstall it. So right mouse click on no and uninstall it, and then go through it again. Are you both done with the install?
Yep.
You ran the commands, they work?
Yep.
Okay. Good. All right. Okay, we'll wait a second. And you can right mouse click on it, and I'll tell it to open when done.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, I went and looked a half an hour ago and it said rain ending soon. Told Mr. Corrigan this morning, I don't know about your lawn. Mine is like straw, and then you get tons of rain, then you get nothing for like 3 weeks, and you get one day when you get tons of rain. Now, if this is work for you, just type in exit. You won't need that window anymore. All right, that should make that command window go away. Did yours work? Is it still loading or what?
Most of the time.
that's not gonna work there. Go on, no, just close that. We don't need to get into Node. Just click there, and type in CMD. No, not Node. Now type in the two commands. And again, you'll have a later number than me, that's fine. All right, that's fine. Then type in exit. You can have that window go away. All right. So everybody's got it loaded. That's a good start. All right. What Node is going to allow us to do is to, and we're going to do this in a minute, we're going to go and download what's called a package from Node that's GitHub Pages. Now, the magic, so to speak, you don't have to go out here, but the magic, so to speak, in Node, and the reason I had you run those commands, it showed the version of Node you were using, and it showed the version of NPM, which is the Node package manager that you're using. And NPM, so if I type in npmjs.com, this is the Node package manager. This is, kind of look at it this way, that literally it's a library that's got about 500,000 books in it. And you can take them out and bring them into any project you're working on at any time. All right, some of the things that are in here are downloaded millions of times a week. Some of the other ones are not very popular. All right, if you ever get to that point, you literally can try to create your own package, and you can submit it there. And if it's deemed acceptable by the powers that be, they'll put it in there. All right. So let's see. We did that. We did that from the dist. Okay. Then let's come in here and so I came in here, and like I told you to do, I've got this dist, right? Now, if when you copied it over, I don't know, but if you still have that .git folder in there, just remove it, because we're going to recreate it right now. All right? We just want to make sure it's got the right location, because we put a dist in here, etc., and I don't want it to get screwed up. It probably would work even if we didn't, but I'm not going to try it. So I want you to be in this dist folder. Again, you've got more stuff in here than I do. I get that. All right. One of the things that we did at the beginning of the semester is we all went in, and you guys already had it, but the new people, we went in and we set up GitHub. And we set up Git, if you remember that. So from here, I'd like you've done this before, I'd like you to right mouse click and choose Git Bash here. So right mouse click, make sure you're in the dist folder, right mouse click, and choose Git Bash here. Again, we've done this many times before. And it's going to open this up. You've already seen this. Nothing new here. But we're going to follow the steps we basically have followed before. And that is this. I'm assuming your Alfanos works. I'm not going to do a darn thing with Alfanos. All right, so we're going to say git init and hit enter. And that should initialize the empty repository. So we've got our .git folder again. All right. Then, kind of like we've done before, we're going to do a git add dot and hit enter. And don't worry if it doesn't show anything. That's okay. And then we're going to come in and do our git commit -m. And I'm going to put, you can put anything you want, but I'm going to say pushing Alfanos site to GitHub pages. Again, if you don't like my comment, make up your own. It's totally fine. It's just a comment that we're going to have in there in a couple of minutes. All right? So after you put that in, hit enter. You should get something, I would think. Yours is probably going to, again, be bigger than mine because I only have the images folder and the index.html file. You've got the other folders for contact and for about, etc. All right? Now, for right now, we're not done with this, but we can minimize this window. So please just minimize this window. All right? Then what I'd like you to do is go out to your github.com account. So go out to your github.com account. And again, I don't know how you do this. You can either click New right here for repositories, or you can click the plus sign and click New Repository. But I want you to bring up a new repository. All right? And we're going to call this Alfanos. A-L-F-A-N-O-S. You should really put it in the same caseness, spell the same, etc., as what you had on your desktop. Even if you don't, I think it'll work, but why take any chances? All right? All right, so we've got Alfanos. Yours will be private, of course. Mine will be public. All right? And you should have, hopefully, that the name is available. Then go all the way down to the bottom, as we've done before, and click the button to create the repository. All right? This is nothing new. We've done all this before. Then, and again, you've done this before. I want you to please grab this line, your get remote add origin line. Everybody see that in blue? You can grab it from here, or you can grab it from here. It's the same line. We're not going to push it yet, but we're going to get it ready to be pushed. So this is our get remote line. So I'm going to copy that to the clipboard. I'm going to go back into my git bash that's right here. All right, let me clear this. And I'm going to paste it in. All right, and hit enter. And again, if it comes back with just your command prompt, it worked. Now we can test this. We've talked about this before. You can say git remote -v, and you should have the same address as the one you just put in. All right? You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but you can. All right? And all that's going to say is, hey, in just a couple minutes, when we're ready to push this, this is where you should be pushing it to. That should make sense to everybody. Again, this is all review. We've done all this before. Nothing new here. All right? What we're going to do now is new. All right? Because we're going to do some Node stuff. Now, what we're about to do with Node, you won't have to do this. After we get done with this and we do it once, you'll be able to push any site that you create out to GitHub pages. And you won't have to do this stuff again. So this is all preparatory type of work that you have to do once to get everything ready, for lack of better words. All right, so following my own steps here, we did step 1, we made the folder named dist. All right, we did step 2, we went out and we downloaded Node. All right, from here, we opened a Git. This is the command I'm going to want you to put in. So let me make it bigger. It's in gray right there. So from your git bash window, so from right here, right there, I want you to put in that command that's in gray. npm space I space gh hyphen pages. All right, and I'll copy mine in. So paste. So I've got it right there. What that's telling it to do is it's telling the system to go out to the Node package manager that I just showed you, and it's telling it to find a package, that's it right there, named GitHub pages, GH pages. This is the command right here. npm space I space GH hyphen pages. Right there, the one in gray. Now, before we go and actually install that, problem?
No, go ahead.
If you already hit enter, it's not going to hurt anything. All right? But if I go out here and I type in GH hyphen pages, this is the package that we're about to add. All right? So if I click on there, well, you'll notice weekly downloads, 212,446, which should say to you and me, that's pretty darn stable. That enough people, 200,000 people think enough of it that they're using it. All right? All right. So, yeah, if you haven't already done it, installed it, just hit enter. It's going to spin a little bit, and it's going to look a little funky. and it'll give you all this stuff up here. Don't worry about what this stuff means. It basically is just telling you there's some stuff that you need that you don't have built in yet, because I probably should have done the steps in a little bit different order. And don't worry about it. We may even have to run the command again. It's no big thing. All right, so I'm going to clear my screen again. Now, what we're doing right now is we're getting ready to run this, for lack of better words. GitHub Pages has got to run this kind of like as a node project. But right now, ours isn't ready to be a node project yet. And what do I mean by that? If you look right here, under Alfano's, what do I have? I've got dist, and I've got this stuff. Now, you may or may not have noticed, and you don't have to open yours, but when I went in and I just installed that, it made this special folder here called Node Modules. And that is everything that GitHub Pages needs to do its thing, and everything else that GitHub Pages depends on to do its thing. All right? But really, we need another file in here that's called package.json. No, you don't make it. We're going to automatically make it. And I'm going to show you the hard way of doing it. Don't do this, but watch me do it. Don't do this, because I'm going to have you do it where you won't have to do any of the stuff I'm about to do. All right? Normally, when you are creating your GitHub, your npm file, your npm init, you type in npm init. Don't type this in yet. And you hit enter. And then it asks you about 10 questions. So, it says, okay, what's the name of your package? And dist is fine. So I'm just going to come in here, hit enter. Whoops. Hit enter. The version, again, I'm going to hit enter. The description, you can put one in, and then hit enter. The entry point, index.js, don't worry about that, but hit enter. The test command, you hit enter. The Git repository, notice it found it. You hit enter. The keywords, you can put some in if you want. You hit enter. The author, you can put your name in if you want, and you hit enter. And it says the license, and you can just accept that one, and it's fine. And you hit enter, and it says, is this okay? It's just made this file for you, right here. It's just made that file. And it says, is everything okay? And you hit enter. Now, since we don't care about really any of that stuff, all you have to type in is this. The same command I just put in, but at the end put -y. So you type in right now, npm space init space minus lowercase y, and hit enter. And it will build that file for you, and it'll accept all those defaults that I just put in. All right, we're not worried about things like an index.js file. That's if we're running JavaScript on the server. We're not. All right. So hopefully you type that in, npm init -y. All right. And if you did, you don't have to open yours up, but if you did, you can now notice you've got a package.json file, and if we open it, it's got that stuff in there. All right. Now, it should have this in there too, because we added that as a dependency. It said in order for this package to work, we need GitHub Pages. Okay? Don't worry about it. You don't have to open yours. It should have been put in there automatically for you. If something breaks when we do this, and for some reason yours doesn't work, just raise your hand. It should work. All right? I'm giving you the right steps, but stuff can happen. All right. So we've gone through there. I'm going to close that. I don't need it open anymore. And we've done that. We did that. There's other files in there. I said here, mention the meaning of the other files. For instance, just so you see these. All right, as far as the other stuff that's in there. All right, I already mentioned the package.json. The node modules, it's just filled with folders. I should have done this beforehand, but I didn't, and it's okay. But notice when I check the size of that, it's over 2 meg. And that's a lot of bloat that you don't need to add to your program. So before we push this up to GitHub Pages, I'm going to show you a way to not include that folder because we don't need it. All right? So we'll do that in just a couple seconds. The package lock.json file says everything that we have in here, what version of these things are you using? Notice there's Nodejs, and there's some other stuff, but it's the version of different things that you're using. This is all stuff that's set up by the system. You can look at this file. You should never play with this file or change anything that's in this file. Typically, at least, you wouldn't want to change anything. It's a system-generated file, in other words. All right, so let's see, add this. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. So what I'll want you to do right now, we will open up that package.json file. Open it up in your editor of choice. It doesn't matter what editor you use. All right. And where it says homepage right here, everybody see this line? You should have a line like this on yours. Should be down near the bottom. Well, right now it says, hey, when you first start running this, it's going to come up and bring up a README file. We didn't make one of those. We have to change this just a little bit. So I'm going to leave that one there, but I'm going to paste in what I want you to put in. Now, look on the screen. Just don't type yet. Where I've got your GitHub name, mine is JP Scott Rankin. Yours, I believe, is J. Wharton Rankin. Yours is like Nick Kotner, etc. You know, you should put in whatever name you have in here. So in other words, you want the home page to say your GitHub name right there. So, whoops. So again, my GitHub name right there will not be your GitHub name. Mine will be JP Scott Rankin. All right? And then like this. And we won't need the comma because it's at the end. So I want you to change yours. The only thing that'll be different between what I have and what you have is put your GitHub. This is your GitHub. You know, when you go out to GitHub, it's basically the name of the account associated with your GitHub account. Does that make sense to everyone? So what we're telling this is in just a minute, we want you to go out to GitHub IO and bring up Alfanos. All right. I'll leave that up there for just a second. And I'm not even going to say, hey, does all this make sense? Because it might not make much sense at all. This is, again, just some preparatory work that we're doing right here. All right? Okay. So let's see what was next. Also replace the contents of the script section. Okay. Then in that same file that we were just in, that packaged.json file, I want you to go up and find the section, mine is in lines 10 and 11, where it says scripts. You see the line I've got there in gray? Can everybody see that line? We don't want that. So I'm going to remove that line, and I'm going to replace it with that line. You can type that in just like that. Make sure you put the double quotes in there, as I have done. There's reasons for this. You're using what's called JSON, which is JavaScript object notation. And it requires stuff to be in double quotes. You don't have a package.json file?
I have a package-lock.json.
All right, did you run the npm space init space -y command?
I think I missed that.
I missed that too.
Then run it now. You've got to run that from here. And you put in npm space init space -y and just hit enter. And that'll build it for you automatically. Then you'll have it. Then you have to open it up. After you've done that, you've got to open up the package.json file and add that line at the bottom. So there's a line in there already. Change it to that line. And then we'll put in the other one in just a second. So the bottom line is if something gets screwed up or you're not doing this, Michael sent me an email this morning. He's having car problems, so he's not sure if he's even going to be able to get here today. But that's one of the reasons I always tape this. But if you're having problems, etc., all that's going to happen is you won't be able to push this out to GitHub pages. All right? I mean, that's going to be the worst case scenario. You screwed something up, or I gave you a wrong command, or whatever, and it's not going to work. Has everybody put in that line down at the bottom? You've got to change the line that says homepage to this. But don't put in JP Scott Rankin.
On
Put
one file,
what?
on one file.
On the package.json file. The one you just created when you did the npm init -y.
This is under Git.
What? No, it's not under Git. It should be right here. Should be right there, package.json. Again, don't use JP Scott Rankin. Use whatever your Git login is. Now, you won't have to go back in and install GitHub Pages every time. You won't have to go back in and install Node every time, etc. But every time that you want to do this, so let's just say we're done now and James has said, hey, I got 3 other sites I want to put out there. Then for each one of those sites, he's going to want to put a dist folder in there, copy in everything, do the npm init -y, make this change and the other change that we're about to make. So that you've got to make for each one of the sites that you want to put in. So does everybody have this now? All right, so here was the other one. I said you want to go up to where it says scripts, and again, it's lines 10 and 11 for me. You have a script, yours probably says test with something on there. Remove that and replace it with deploy ghpages -d dist. So we're telling it that we're going to want to deploy GitHub Pages. And the directory that we're using, that's the -d, is our dist directory. And again, what I'm telling you is just this is a standard way of doing this. You can go out and you can literally Google how to add a website to GitHub Pages, or how to add your website to GitHub Pages. You're going to find lots of hits. You go out to YouTube, you're probably going to find hundreds of hits. Some are going to be better than others. This is one by a guy that I respect, and that's why I use this one. I'm not saying it's the best or the only one. I'm saying it's the one I use. That's why it's the one I'm sharing with you. So I'm taking for granted that you've all been able to go in and change that scripts line. Since you made changes, make sure you do a file save to this file. You've got to save your changes that you made. All right? Now, is there anything else we need to put in here? Let's look. I don't think so. Good. All right, so we should be able to come in then and close the package.json file. Make sure you've saved it, and then you should be able to close it. All right, or try to close it. There we go. All right, then the next thing that we want to do, we already went out and did this. We already went out to GitHub. We've done all this stuff already. Okay, so there's only really one more thing that we have to do before we do this. We're going to push it out in just a moment, but before we do, please look up on the screen here. All right, I don't know if you're bringing these files up. I don't know if you've got it in VS Code or in something else, and guess what? It don't matter. But just because we've been using VS Code the whole semester, let me open up my Alfanos with code. All right? And under my dist, under here, I want to add a new file that will have one line in it. What we want to do is we want to tell GitHub Pages to ignore everything that's in there because it doesn't need it. So, in order to be able to do that, we're going to come in here and under dist, I want you to right mouse click and choose new file. And we're literally going to call this file, you start it with a period. So in here you should type in .get, all lowercase, ignore. .get, ignore. All lowercase, no spaces, no nothing. So that's what I'm going to put in there in just a second. But I made it nice and big so hopefully everybody can see it with no problems. All right, and I'm going to put it in too, right there. So .gitignore. Now it made it really hard to read, but you can see it in there now. And after you put that in, hit enter, and you're right here by your empty .gitignore file. One line of code we put in there, and that is this right here. We type in node_modules. That's all you have to put in there. We're telling it to ignore the contents of that folder because they're not necessary for what we're doing. After you put that in, just do a file save. So you've saved it. And now you can close this. We don't need this particular file anymore. All right, so I'm just going to close it. All right. So we've done that. We've done all this stuff. So we should be able to come in and do our git push. Now, I have to still say master. Some of you have to say master, and some of you say main. I don't get that at all, but it just is what it is. So from the window here, we're getting ready to push this. So paste in either your git push -u origin master, or if you're using main, put in your git push -u origin main. Does that make sense to everyone? Questions? All right, after you put that in, just hit enter. It's going to take a couple seconds. Now it's pushed everything. All right? Two more things and we're done. First is, I want you to do this. I want you to go back to GitHub. All right, we've got this in here with Alfanos. Refresh, and that should be in there. All right? And when you look here, everybody look on the screen, see where this says master? If you look here, if I click the down arrow, yep, we got a master in there. That's good. All right? But we need one more thing. We need a GH pages thing in there as well. So we're going to get that right now. All right. So verify that it worked. Now we've got to go back to this window. We put in one more command. And I'm going to show it to you in two places here. So again, let me clear. It's right here. It's npm space run space deploy. All right. And I'm going to put that right in here. It's again going to come back with a bunch of messages and stuff. Don't let that worry you. Just put in npm space run space deploy. All right, and I'm going to hit enter. Again, I get some stuff back. I don't like that because it said no such file or directory. That ain't good. GH pages minus ddist. No such file or directory. Alfanos dist. Well, that ain't good. All right, we may have to make a change. So let's look. First of all, yeah, we only still have master. That ain't good. So let's go back. We'll fix it. I'm not worried about it. We're 90% of the way there right now. All right, so I'm going to go back, and I'm going to open up again. As soon as I find it, where the heck? There it is. I'm going to open up my package.json file. All right. GH pages minus ddist. So what doesn't it like? It didn't like dist. Oh, goodness. I'm going to try something I don't want you to try in case this doesn't work. So. Come on. Yeah, it is. So what does it like here? Oh, goodness. Oh, no. That is all correct. Son of a gun. Dist. That should all be correct. Deploy. Okay, I'm going to try this. Okay. That. Son of a biscuit. There we go. Okay. We'll fix it, hopefully. Let's see if this comes back. Good. I think it worked. Okay. I'm sorry about this. Open up your package.json file, please. Open up this file, that package.json. Find this line right here. All right. If this doesn't work, then I'll have to go and debug it during the break, but I think it worked. Change this. You've got the word dist here. Change it to just a period. All right. So remove the word dist from in there and change it to just a period. Save the file, and then close the file. So save the file and close the file. All right? Then put in this command, the same one we just put in that didn't work, and that is this. npm space run space deploy. So put in that same thing. Hopefully it'll spin a little bit, and it'll come up and say published like mine did. If you get errors, we'll have to figure out what they are. So I didn't type in any of this stuff. You just have to type in npm space run space deploy and hit enter. All right? Now, how do I know if it worked? Look up on the screen if you would, please. All right? So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to refresh my page. And now when I click, see how I've got a GH pages? See that? That's what we actually need. And there's what's in there. All right? So to see whether or not this worked, hopefully you're all to where I am. Go to settings, click on the word settings up here in GitHub pages, and you got to go down about halfway. And there's GitHub pages. See that? And it says page settings now has its own dedicated tab. Check it out here, etc. Well, that's not good. Let's see. Change visibility transfer. I don't want to check that out, so there you go. Where it says it now has its own dedicated tab, can you see this? And it says click here, click it. And then you should say this. It says your site is now published. And if you click there, hey, our site's on the internet. So you can now take this URL and give it to anybody, and they can see what you've been working on. All right? Why is that important? Because when you leave here, unless you get rid of this stuff will still be here. All right? Now, is there anybody who tried doing that and it didn't work?
I had trouble with the last few parts. You said push the...
Yeah, we just do a push like we always do. You've done that for everything you've done this semester.
Command site.
You what?
Where am I getting the URL?
What you are. What I asked you to do when we first started, the first thing when we got out to our GitHub site, get back there again, and we created the Alfanos. When we did that, when we first went in, you had that thing, that whole line that said Git, version, origin, etc. I asked you to copy that.
Yeah.
That's where it's getting it from. All right? Let's go through the steps one more time, because they worked. All right? Did yours work, Mason?
No.
Okay. Did yours work, Nick? No. Did yours work, James?
Not exactly.
Okay. Well, that's good. All right. So let's go through the steps one last time for 10 minutes, and we'll take a break. All right. And I want to show you everything that we did. All right. So, taking it from the top. And again, the order in which you do a lot of these steps doesn't matter. So if I did it in a little bit different order, it's okay. All right? So we came in and we made a folder named dist, right? And then in that folder named dist, we put that under our Alfanos folder. Does that make sense to everybody? Then we copied over everything we had in the Alfanos folder. We copied it into the dist folder. All right? Then we went out and we downloaded Nodejs. So we went out to nodejs.org. We found the download. I said to use the LTS one, which is the long-term support one. All right? From there, and I really should have had you taken this step and this step, and I should have inverted them. All right? What do I mean? Well, let's see. I'm going to move this. If we would have made, it probably would have been cleaner to have made our package.json file first. We didn't do it, and it didn't hurt anything. It's okay. So we did the npm init. I had you do the -y because that just accepted every option there was. Everybody still with me? Yes.
I think I figured out what the difference was. So if you go to settings and then you open up first off you have to make the repository public. You have to pay to do private GitHub pages. But once you make it public, if you go to GitHub pages, it'll tell you where the link should be. So if you copy the exact link it tells you to use and then put it into your package JSON and then save it and then redeploy, it will work.
Okay. Everybody hear that? All right. So say it again if you would, nice and slow.
So first just make sure that your repository is actually public.
So make sure go out to GitHub, make sure your repository has been published. Okay.
In the danger zone.
Yeah, again, since I'm making stuff public and you're making it private, I can see where there would be some differences. All right, after you made it public, then what happened?
And you go into GitHub pages, and it'll tell you where your GitHub page would be if you published it. And then I just copied and pasted the link saying where it should be. And then I pasted that into my package JSON for the link.
All right, so in other words, this right here that I had you copy in, this home page, you will have to replace that because this is mine because it's public. I guess you had to do yours differently because it's private. And I'll tell you what, so does yours work now?
Yeah.
Did you try it, Nick?
I'm getting there.
Okay, did you try it, Mason?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Okay, I'll give you guys a couple seconds, and if you don't mind, James, I don't know if Donald's having any trouble with it or not, maybe after the break, you could spend 5 minutes and just help him with it. All right? All right, so took longer than I thought, and again, yeah, I should have checked that out first, but since I make everything public, that's what I followed it by. Now, one last thing. If you look up on the screen here, all right? Right there. I'll send you this URL, so don't worry about writing it down, please. But this is
So you want to be a software engineer at Google? Go to algoexpert.io. Pick a question. Read the top.
All right.
You can add records and things like that, which is pretty much everything.
This is from a guy named Brad Traversy. I probably have alluded to him in class before. All right. He's got a 20-minute long presentation on GitHub pages, deploy, and domain. Now, the only thing you have to watch is the first 10 pages. The first 10 minutes rather. The last 10 minutes, it assumes you bought your own domain for this, and he shows you how to move it over. So if you had jameswharton.com, you could move the file in there. Does that make sense? So you only have to watch this first, it's like about 9 minutes and 45 seconds. He goes through everything I just did. The only difference, again, is he makes it public. Now, if you say, well, then fine, then make yours public. You're not turning this in. But if you're having trouble and you just want to see if you can get it to work, you can follow the steps I gave you, but go back and remake that public. So remove the repository, make it again, and make it public. All right? Did you get there?
I'm just gonna watch the video and
Okay.
just.
Well, let's take a break, and I'll tell you what, after the break, for anybody who's interested, I'm just going to rerun through the whole steps. I'm going to go back and make a new repository. I'm going to make it public, and you should be able to follow it, and hopefully everything will now work. All right, so we'll do that after the break. Is yours working yet, Nicola or Mason, or not?
No.
Okay. All right, then we'll try it after the, like I said, after the break.